What do you do when your hip is falling apart? You're raising a kid, DJing in high heels, and you've got no time to breathe. If you're Nicole, you take an ice bath every single day. My name is Simon, aka Mr. Cold Shower. And in this episode, I bring you another story of someone who used cold to transform their well-being. We'll dive into how cold water therapy helped Nicole manage pain, sleep better, and even choose her husband. Sometimes it's the ice in a man, and sometimes it's simply a man in the ice. All right, let's dive right in. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Simon. I'm a professional DJ by career. I've spent my life working in the music industry. I'd had a background in yoga and I'm a certified health coach and Ayurvedic certified chef, and I have a permaculture design certificate. So that's all the sort of hobby and passion stuff. Yeah. I was born and raised in New Zealand and grew up very close to nature and spent 3 to 4 months of the year living on a boat with my family, eating, fishing for our food and doing the washing in waterfalls with my mother. And I was exposed to cold water at a really young age. So I'm a water baby. Basically, I was like swimming at the time. I learnt to walk, and I learnt to walk on a boat. And when I got to land, I couldn't walk on land. So I've always been a water baby and a strong swimmer. My whole family would do these huge swims in the ocean together for, a couple of miles. And we spent a lot of time in the Cook Strait on our boat, which is the water from Antarctica. New Zealand's situated between Australia and Antarctica. So freezing freezer So I grew up with a lot of cold water exposure. Once I started my ice journey, I started reflecting on that. But fast forward to migrating to New York City. I'm an American now, and I had a lot of body pain. I'd worn a lot of high heels while I was DJing, and I had such incredible hip pain. I didn't know what to do about it. So that's what led me to first start delving into the cold. So I had a little pool on my patio that I got for my son, and we'd spend all summer and playing in it, and gradually sort of upgraded to a bigger intake pool. And then I guess, like a lot of people, I saw a Wim Hof video probably about 10 years ago, I think, one of the maybe a Vice documentary on superhumans. Yeah.
Yes.
And at the time, because I had a lot of body pain, I thought, gosh, this could be something I could try, because I was pretty much desperate. I, am very athletic, so I was really struggling with this pain, and I didn't have insurance here, and I just thought, you know what, I can solve it myself. So when the ice came that fall, instead of taking the pool down, which I used to do every year, I got in. And at first I was doing all this crazy breath retention, and I was sharing my journey with friends and family, and they were saying, oh, that's crazy, you're gonna faint. Anyway, I found my way. Once the ice got thicker, I had a hammer that I would break the ice with, and then someone's husband said, oh, you should use a cast iron pan. So I'm out there on my roof deck in Brooklyn with a cast iron pan in the ice, and eventually I got an axe. So I now have 2 different axes of different sizes. Yeah, started learning, went past Wim Hof, was obviously very inspiring and awesome and really brought this practice to the world. But I started researching for myself.
Let me quickly wind back to when you started with your first cold plunge. You said you saw a video from Wim Hof. Did you just daredevil it yourself, or did you take his online course? How did you get started? Because a lot of people are afraid of the cold.
Yeah, so at this time I didn't realize I was bone on bone, both sides of my hip, both of my hips. And I would go for a run, and I would do this high intensity training, like interval training, like I would sprint 2 blocks. And it's crazy to think about the amount of pain I was in. But when I'd get home, I would get into the water, and I was doing the Wim Hof breath method where you're lying down. I was doing that in the pool. So the thing is,
okay. Sorry, I have to jump in here. I'm a formerly certified Wim Hof method instructor, and that's something that's gotten Wim Hof a lot of trouble. Don't ever do any breathing exercises. Yeah, in the pool.
I didn't do that exact long retention he did, but I was doing the long inhales and exhales. Anyway, I wasn't even timing myself at this stage, I don't think, but what I found was this immediate relief. And as I started researching further where Wim Hof was inspired from the Tumo method, I started looking into Tumo. And each winter I would just kind of fine-tune my method. So I would do that breathing without long retentions, but just more to get me focused, right? And then the ice came and I would sit, I'd do 2 to 5 minutes. It just brought me such huge relief that I kind of couldn't go without it. And then I started realizing, wow, it makes me a way calmer mother. It really just, I realized how much in our language we say things like, "I'll take a chill pill, chill out," or cool it with that, or that person's super cool, like they're so chill. And I realized it had this like ripple effect into my whole life. So not only was it that time in the water when you overcome fight or flight, for me, it's around, well, in the beginning of the season, it takes a little longer. I'm sort of like, holy shit, do I get out? I can do it. I can, all these thoughts are racing through your mind. And around a minute and a half, this calm wave just
Yeah.
descends over you. And you're like, oh, wow, start smiling, start laughing. All these things start happening. So then I would get out of the pool and I think the consistent method for me is the sumo stance and the and you pull up the bandhas. I use one of those yoga methods to create heat. They do fire breath in yoga. So I pull up my bandhas to do that to generate the heat, because the longer I started staying in, the more protocols you need to do after, right? So it's like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
like right now, 5 minutes. I don't need any protocols getting out of the ice. I'm just like, get in, dry off, feel great, get dressed, get on with my day. But each winter I started just, I read these things, people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like 2 minutes is the same as 10. It makes no difference. But for me, I was just like, I'm just curious. What happens if I stay in for 10 minutes? And what I found was I fell in love with the feeling of rest and digest and overcoming fight or flight, calming my nervous system. And I didn't want to get out. And then my husband said something interesting. It's almost like you're so cold, you could be like super hot. And so I would start having these sorts of thoughts, like perhaps I'm just burning hot, because the whole time you're kind of overcoming these irrational thoughts that enter your head of fear, like, oh, it's uncomfortable. Oh, I'm starting like you're overcoming these things, which is where the mental fortitude is developed from the ice steps, because I found that I was mentally stronger in every facet of my life. The longer I stayed in, the stronger my mind was, and the more I could overcome or control my thoughts in everyday life. And at the time I hadn't had my surgeries, my hips, I was in a lot of pain. And what I discovered with ice dipping while I was in a lot of pain was that I would get these like headaches, like it was drawing heat away. The inflammation would go down, but it was way more intense for me. When I was like in my most severe time of pain, it relieved me, but it was really intense. And actually at that time, I was doing the Wim Hof breath methods when I had a lot of inflammation, like bone on bone, both sides of my hips. Like I could barely walk, actually. It was crazy. But I had to pretend I could walk because I was DJing and I had to get to gigs. It was just so painful. I'd get home, just sit down and be like, oh, just wish I never had to stand up again.
I would have a question here.
Okay.
Before you mentioned when you had that pain and you went into the ice bath, you said it became more intense, or it was very intense. Can you describe that? And also tell us, is your pain now gone because of the ice or something else? Just so people can gauge whether that's for them or not.
Oh, yes. I had so much body pain with the bone on bone. Now I do have 2 hip replacements. In hindsight, because I didn't listen to my body and I let it go so far, I was kind of left with no choice. Because at the stage where you can't walk anymore, it becomes so not just physically debilitating, but so emotionally challenging. Like and I know other people can relate to this who've had like severe injuries or been handicapped in some way, that you just start losing your zest for life. Like it got so bad. Now, if I'd listened to my body earlier, I think I could have like rebuilt those tissues within the hip, but by the time I got to it, when I first started ice dipping, I didn't even know how bad it was. It wasn't until I went down to New Zealand on a trip, I finally got x-rays, and the technician was like, wow, like how are you even walking? You're bone on bone. And in both sides, I just started crying. It was such a relief, because here I'd been like this, strong person seeking all these remedies, and it gave me relief in the cold, but it'd gone too far for me to be able to cure it. But at that time, I was doing the Wim Hof breath methods, which I just found like insane. Like the sensations I was getting, I can tell you, when you do the big inhales, exhales, so I do 50, and after the last exhale, you're holding it, I would be spluttering and spasming. Like my body was in such a state of like chaos from having that bone on bone. Like it was telling me you have to do something about this, but it would give me relief. But I would feel I was so like, I guess, stuck inside. I wasn't getting oxygen properly. Like I was just jacked up. Like it does not happen now. It's a completely different experience now. I can do that breath and be like, wow, it's so buzzy and trippy and I feel amazing. But I was like literally like spasming and stuff. And I would do it because it would, by the third round, it would be less. But it showed that my body was in like a state of chaos and like needed the right environment to heal. So the ice dipping helped in that it got me through my worst winter where I had to DJ and I had to be on my feet. It allowed me to, that relief of sitting in the ice would get me through that next day. So it was
So it would last for like 24 hours or a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I slept better. You know, instead of waking up because the hips hurt and stuff, I'd sleep better. Like I just remember in the beginning I first started doing it, I slept like a baby. Because once you've gone through cold thermogenesis, it is a natural stressor. So it's tiring. You have all this energy, but then by the time the sun goes down, you're like, wow, I'm kind of beat, but in a good way, not in a like, oh, I'm so tired way, more in a like, wow, like I'm ready for bed. So I was sleeping better. My mood was better because I was starting to feel like really upset about not being able to walk. And I caught my reflection in a window of a store once time I was walking past and I was like, oh my God, look how I'm walking. I couldn't believe it. I was
So you're
walking.
avoiding the pain and you're walking kind of wobbly?
Well, yeah, just in so much pain that I couldn't even walk properly. So anyway, ended up sorting it all out. Got the first hip replaced. Couldn't go in the water while the wound was healing, but got right back in as soon as the wound was healed and the second hip was done. So that's what I say to the people that I'm training. Just, it's okay. Like, you're okay. And they're panicking, whatever, and you're like, but you're okay. And even my friends who are like Mr. and Mrs. Universe, they literally have like those titles. She's Mrs. She's had a Miss Universe title. He has a Miss Universe title. And they're like yoga teachers and they work at like the best gym in the world. And you're thinking like, these people are going to have it nailed. Still, you know, panicking when they get in. My friend, yoga teacher, 30 years, he's been teaching yoga. So before, you know, he gets in, I'm explaining, you know, it's similar to the fire breath. Just imagine, you know, visualize the flame and all this. And the only person that made it to 2 minutes was the person I thought would not, because she's got the most health problems and she's desperate for a cure. And I think this is often what motivates people to push themselves to find a way to feel better, is the people that are like suffering with something, which is what led me there too, you know. The way they feel afterwards, my friend from the gym, she lasted better than anybody. She achieved 2 minutes this winter. And she said afterwards, she automatically went to the bakery to get the like sweet muffin she usually gets. And she got there and her mental fortitude was so strengthened. She was like, nah, I'm not going to get it. Then the voice came back in. No, you want the sugary muffin. So she got it. Right? She's doing this like back and forth. She got it. She had one bite and she's like, I don't want it. And she threw it away. And she's like, this has never happened. And she said she said it was direct response from the mental fortitude I gained from like sitting in the water for 2 minutes, you know. And she's this trainer, so she's used to going to these like pushing herself physically. But this is a different kind of pushing yourself. This is overcoming, because you're going to be fine. So when I met my husband, I thought, gosh, I think this guy's the one, but what am I going to do if he doesn't like ice dipping? So my husband's like, you know, I want to try it. And in my head, I'm thinking, am I still going to like this guy if he's not as badass as I am? You know? Anyway, we get into the water. There's ice. We break the ice. We get in side by side. And he says immediately, wow, I feel like my body has been waiting for this my whole life. And I was like,
and he's never done an ice bath before?
He's the one. Never.
Wow.
we have this running joke, my husband and I. He came out of the pool and I said, how was it? You know, knowing it was like one of the first freezing cold days. And he goes, oh, it wasn't that bad. But the funny thing is, it wasn't that cold. He was serious. And I was like, oh, really? Like, did you take a nap? And so we have this ongoing joke now. Yeah, no, I was just out there, you know, taking a nap. Just check on me if I doze off, you know, come and tap me on the shoulder, because you're so alert and vibrant when you're in the ice,
Yeah.
overcoming these irrational thoughts, that it's the opposite of that. That was incredible to witness somebody else feel that way about the cold, because friends are often like, oh, I'd love to come over and try what you're doing. And what I tell them is, ignore your thoughts. When you get in, you're going to want to immediately get out. And that's people's first reaction usually. But my husband, that was really profound. His body, he felt like he'd been waiting for this his whole life. Yeah, we sat in there together and I was just like, wow, this is the guy. And, you know, he's my husband now. So we do it a lot together, but I'm home more. So I'm really, in winter, I'm doing it 7 days a week.
Like from October onwards until March, April, or like
well,
what's
all
your
year.
season?
I'm actually in the pool like most days all year. When it gets warm, it's a bit boring. Like today I was in, it's 46. It's not cold, there's no ice. But funnily enough, I find it easier when it's 3/4 ice in the pool than when it's just like still cold water. It's funny. It must be like the drama and the excitement of the ice, that it's actually easier for me to get in ice than it is to get in like plain cold water. I'm just kind of like, oh, like today I did like 2.5 minutes. But if there was ice out there, I would have sat in there for like 8-10 minutes, you know?
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's difficult to judge the temperature if you don't have any visual clues, right? I mean, water could be 35 all the way up to 90, and you wouldn't see a difference, right? But once there's ice on top, you know, all right.
That's it. I've had some incredible interactions with nature up here. If you go to my Instagram page, you'll see that I have these. They're faux fur, unfortunately, but I'd love those Russian hats, big fluffy hats, and they look like animals, you know? So we have a lot of falcons live around here, and they nest on top of the tall apartment buildings around our building. So we often see the falcons, like, you know, hunting the pigeons and separating them. And this day, I'm in the pool, middle of winter, and have the camera set up above me like a bird's eye view. And I hear this whistle, and I'm always tuned into the bird life. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I look up and there's a falcon like circling above me, because he's seeing this like faux fur hat and he can't work out. It almost looks like a groundhog or, you know, from above, he's thinking, this is a kind
Yeah.
of, I can tell it's alive, but he's sort of confused. And I was thinking, imagine how viral this is going to go if he swoops down on me right now. But I had the camera
Oof.
looking down on me, right? So you can hear him, his cry in the video, but you can't see him. And then a few weeks later, this was this past winter, I'm sitting in the pool and a falcon comes and lands on the railing. Sorry, at the front of the patio. It's like 8 feet from where I'm sitting in the ice. And he's got his back to me. And I'm just, I mean, this is the closest I've been to a falcon, and I am buzzing. And he's turning his head sideways, looking back at me. So he's checking me out. He's got his back to me, but he's trying to figure out what I am. And I've got this furry hat on again. And I'm thinking, like, what do I do? Part of me is saying, like, jump out. I know he's not going to attack me. And I know he's not going to, like, claw my face. He's just figuring me out. Then he flies to the fence. Now he's closer. He's like 6 feet from me. And I'm just having this whole thing. Like, of course, I don't have a camera up this day, right? And I'm sitting up there like, what? He goes to 4 different spots. He's just still trying to figure out, am I prey? He's obviously super hungry. And yeah, and then I got out. But this time I think I'd been in there like 10 or 12 minutes. And I was like, okay, like, I'm good. A lot of the neighbors know about it now and inquire about it. And people are super curious because it's become so popular. And I've had, I would say, probably 6 different friends come over and give it a go. And everyone, you can almost bank that everyone's going to have the same reaction, and you're so alive afterwards. So this, I think my record was 13, and I just do this every winter. I start at the beginning of the winter thinking, how do I do it? Like, I've forgotten already. Over summer, you know, once it gets fall, we use the pool all year round.
Yeah.
then it gets to fall and starts getting cooler. So now I'm like, okay, I'm actually like taking a dip rather than just diving in and having a refreshing swim. I'm staying in the water, and I begin the winter thinking, how on earth do I do it? Well, I don't know, but I've been doing it for 10 years, so I'm sure it will occur to me like how I do this. And as the winter creeps on, I tend to want to like break my time, but I don't know when it's going to happen. I take it all pretty organically. I don't like, I do have a timer out there, but some days I'm just like, you know what? I don't have time to do the warm up protocol for too long, so I'm going to call it quits at 5. Or my mind might say, yeah, you don't want to have to do that long warm up. And I might override it and be like, you know, because it's funny how your mind works. It's always trying to play tricks on you. So this winter, I had a 13-minute record to beat for myself. And I did a 15-minute immersion, sat in there for 15 minutes. And I'll tell you, when I got out, the feeling was I was treading on air. I was off the earth. I was so high and deliriously happy that I felt like I was levitating. It was such a remarkable feeling that I'm like, who doesn't want to feel it? Like, it doesn't mean the next, I mean, maybe I'll beat 15 minutes. I don't, there's no like roof for me. It's just, it was a whole different experience from 13 minutes. And I know there's people who say, oh, well, you know, 2 minutes and is perfect, is all you need. And it's like, yes, if you're starting out, but if you're curious and you do this practice a lot, then you can start like pushing the boundaries. It's usually what we do when we're mastering something, right? We sort of push it a little more. And I don't want to like overwhelm anyone with that, but just to say like there are like different experiences that can come with longer exposures if you're willing to explore that.
Was there anything else that you did before or after your exposure, or was it just the time that was different?
No, same experience. You know how we sort of met on Instagram. I got some really good tips along the way. I did the same thing I do. Do you want me to run through my protocol? I don't want to step on any like toe.
No, all good. What I want to tell everyone, because we have, I don't know who's listening, right? But it might be total beginners, might be absolute pros. And for all the beginners, please don't do cold training as a competition, whether it's against other people or against yourself. It can become dangerous if you don't build up gradually. So what you said and how you described it was perfect. You do it the whole year round. You do it more or less every day, and you listen to your body. And
that's it.
The amount of time it takes for you to warm up determines how long you can stay. But usually people stay way too long, and then they don't warm up enough, and they just stay cold for like 5 hours, ending up not liking it. And the next time they do the same thing, trying to push even more, but they should do less and kind of warm up longer until they reach a point, like you said, you stay there for 5 minutes, you get out, kind of dry off and go about your day.
Well, here's the thing. You want to, you know, in the beginning, I sort of hurried to warm up afterwards, and I'd put clothes on. And this guy online said, yeah, how are you warming up? You know, because I'm wrapping myself in my duvet and I'm, you know, lying there with my teeth chattering. And I was like, definitely don't do that. But something we discovered was when you get out, if you dry off the water drops, don't come inside immediately. If it's cold outside, do your protocol outside and don't put clothes on for quite a while. Like I'll do the sumo stance and the breathing and warm up this way until I'm feeling in my feet again, and making sure, you know, that the pressure's evenly placed on the feet and that I'm squatting as low as I can, and I'm really like getting the blood flow again, and I'm pulling up those bandhas, and I'm like making the energy surge throughout my body. Then I come inside and I take off my wet swimsuit and I keep my hat on still. And I take the water drops off my body, but I don't get dressed. And this is actually for me the quickest way to warm up. Now, if I'm still cold, because my teeth never chatter, even 15 minutes, chattering teeth is no. Like stop. You know, I feel like that you should never at any stage have chattering teeth or be shivering. You just want to jump up and down. So sometimes I used to get on the yoga mat, immediately get on the yoga mat. I know you're not supposed to do exercise afterwards, but I would just start stretching, just doing like, you know, some salute to the suns or yoga flows. I have these gym rings here. I know you're not supposed to, but I'd get on the gym rings and do some like pull-ups for my abs. But I have a mat in the kitchen that's an anti-fatigue mat, a huge mat in the kitchen. And we've noticed that we gravitate towards that, because what that's doing is all these fine muscles in the feet are moving and pumping heart around your system. If you're on a hard floor, you don't have that same circulation. So we naturally seem to gravitate towards the anti-fatigue mat. And then I might...
Sorry, just for people to understand who have never heard of anti-fatigue, it's like a wobbly surface that's like maybe this thick. What is that, 1 or 2 inches? And then
yeah, it's like an
this
inch
creates
thick.
this-
You have them where you stand in your house. Yeah, increases circulation. I designed one actually for DJs, a portable mat, because when I had my hip pain,
Cool.
I couldn't stand on like concrete floors. And you'll notice bartenders have them. Any kind of service industry has them. Chefs have them. And so we've noticed...
I see them in Costco at the entrance as well.
Yeah, so we've noticed that even if while you're on it, you're like, what is this doing? When you get off it, you're like, wow, I really noticed the difference. So I've just over the years learned these things. Don't put on clothes right away. You want to it's something to do, and I don't know what the like biological description is, but it's something about the blood vessels reassimilating after the cold thermogenesis that putting on clothes is not the go. And you might think, quick, I'm freezing, let me put on all these clothes. But no, just keep moving, because we come inside then, do the protocol outside to warm up, then come inside. But prior to dipping, I used to lie down and do the Wim Hof like breath cycles. But these days I don't. My process is I work out, I get in the near infrared sauna for 30 minutes. I shower that off in a hot shower, towel off, put on my swimsuit, my hat, get in the pool. We realized that one time I didn't shower after the sauna. This is a note for people, and got straight in the pool. Think about sweat coming, your pores opening and sweat. You get in the pool without showering off the sweat. The pores close and it feels like a million needles over your whole body. It's just like someone's just throwing a million needles at you. It's the worst feeling. So we always shower, also because you're releasing toxins in the sauna.
No, yeah, that's a very good point. It reminds me of people back in the days in Zurich. I used to run a public winter swimming pool. So people would come all year round, basically in our case, just from October or November to March. And some of them would warm up, so they would jog or ride their bike, come there, get dressed, and then jump into the lake immediately. Thinking it makes things easier because they kind of increase their heat, and that offsets whatever temperature loss in the lake. And I always try to tell these people, you don't have to do it. It's the opposite of going to the gym. When you use your muscles in the gym, so you want to warm them up. You go into the ice bath, you actually want to cool yourself down, so the temperature difference is lower, and it's not so much of a shock to the body. But it's so counterintuitive.
Well, I think what it is that the sweat is toxins, right? So when you sweat, you're detoxing, and then you're trapping that back in. So sweat isn't something you want to put back in the body. It's the body, shedding. So for me, what's intuitive is to rinse that off, because you don't want that to come back in. The sweat's to be out there. So I do a hot shower. I am warm. Now, what I'll notice myself is, and it's just so funny because you're witnessing yourself doing this. I'll delay, I have my hot shower. I've got my swimsuit on. It's snowing outside. There's 3 feet of ice on the pool. And I'm checking my phone and I'm like, what am I doing right now? I'm supposed to be getting in. Like, what am I doing? Like, I catch myself procrastinating or delaying it sometimes when it's going to be a bit tougher, or I get out there and I axe the hole because we have to keep the ice hole. So I have 2 different size axes depending like how deep the ice is. And so if you don't tend to it like every day, you end up, you're out there, you've got this much to get through and you're spending, 20 minutes flying ice everywhere on the patios, or I'll fix the hole, right? And so I'm cold from that. So then I come inside and I'm like, check my phone. I'm like, just go and do it. You just have to override all those sort of voices in your head that say, oh no, just a little bit longer. It's because it's really about being okay, being uncomfortable, I've realized. And that's something that's really valuable for everything in life, whether people are overcoming addiction or are trying to change their diet or their lifestyle, is being okay with being uncomfortable. And we have a natural aversion to it, but that's where the ice dipping has been really nice, because it gives you that mental fortitude to overcome and be comfortable in those uncomfortable feelings.
Absolutely. Do you know Lewis Pugh?
No.
He swims in like super icy oceans, and he does it to raise money and raise awareness. And they measured him, and I think his body temperature raises by 2 degrees before he goes into the ice. And we're talking 2 degrees Celsius, right? So that's, I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit, but I think this is something that happens inside of your body whilst you procrastinate. So when I take a cold shower even, I kind of do it a bit slowly, but my body and my mind, they know already what's coming. So at one point I noticed, wow, I'm starting to really be warm. And sometimes when my wife tells me, wow, you're so warm, what's going on? And that's just my subconscious preparing me for the experience. So I think there's a upside to procrastination, even though it feels like you're chickening out, right?
Well, yeah, you just witnessing your thoughts, right? But is this the same guy that swam the English Channel? They were monitoring him, and what they discovered was the preparation for immersing in cold water, his body already started producing brown fat with the thought of getting in the cold water. I can't remember the guy's
Could
name.
be.
He overcame, like, he was told he had lymphoma, all this stuff, and basically he started like forest bathing and like ice dipping, and he cured himself, and his goal was to swim the English Channel. But with this guy that was like monitoring him, yeah, I found this really interesting at the thought of getting in. So when he'd done his training and his warm up, he'd already started making brown fat, because that's the goal also, right? Is we don't want this unhealthy white fat. We want to have this brown fat that babies have that insulates us, and it's like a healthy fat that's like protective.
Yeah. And were they saying he activated the
Yeah.
brown fat, as in it
Yes.
became warm?
Yeah, activated, yeah, making brown fat, because we convert the white fat turns to brown fat, but we make brown fat. So when they monitor his body, the thought of the preparation of getting the ice, which ties into what you're saying about becoming warmer, which I hadn't thought of that. Now I must pay attention to that and see if I can notice that in myself too. So definitely it's in the mind.
Have your husband stand behind you and just put his hands not on your shoulders, but like on top of it. And if you can feel it, then
Before
it's
you get
working.
in. Yeah, that's interesting.
I once instructed a small group in Zurich in front of the lake, and they were kind of new to the whole thing, and I had been doing this for like 5 years or so. So we were all in shorts and bikinis in December, January, whatever. And I walked past them, and one person said, "Wow, Simon, you're so warm." And I said, "What? Like it's cold. Like I'm half a meter away from you at least. That's like what, 3 feet? How can you feel that?" And he's like, no, I can tell. And then I checked how warm they were, and there was not much.
And this was before the
And I
ice
checked
dip.
that was before we went in, yeah.
That's interesting.
So I think this is actually what they refer to as inner fire and raising your temperature, which is actually the goal, right? If you go to the gym, you build muscle. If you go to a cold shower, you build up that heat production.
That's it. And that's the process of detox too. And also, calming inflammation, drawing heat away from the organs. I've noticed so you're cold in the water, right? Well, you're thinking all these warm thoughts and you're building this inner fire, but you know that when you get out, like you're flushed, your skin is red, like your whole body has changed color, right? Because it's brought the circulation and what it's done to the capillaries. So you're cold, right? You're doing your warm-up exercises and you're aware you're cold, but your teeth aren't chattering and you're not shivering, but you're like, yes, yes, yes. And you're doing your warm-up. And let's say that passes after like half an hour, and I'm like, all right, I feel kind of pretty normal now. Let me get dressed. And then often I get hot. I get so hot that now I feel like I'm going through hot thermogenesis. Once I've warmed up and I feel normal, I have like a heat wave, because you think
You
you're
have that
cold.
right after that?
Right after the warm up, yes. So about half an hour after
Interesting.
the dip, I'll often get a heat wave, because I'll put on all these clothes because I was cold, but now I'm warmed up enough to like put clothes on. Then I'm like, oh, now I'm hot, which is why I also love doing it, because how many times do you hear people saying, I hate winter, I can't stand the cold weather? And since I've started ice dipping, I love winter because I'm more acclimated to cold. I don't feel the cold as much. Like I'll go outside, I try and like earth as much as possible. So I'll earth when there's I'll just go out and stand on the snow or the cold. Just this morning I was standing on the cold ground, and my husband came up and said, oh gosh, the ground's freezing. And I was like, no, but you just stand in one spot and it soon like starts warming up underneath you. But yeah, I found that cold acclimation has made winter like so much more enjoyable and exciting. And now I'm just like, what do you mean?
Absolutely.
To embrace it. It's like something to be
Yeah.
welcomed.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, usually people see me on my Instagram and they think I've been loving this forever and I've been built for this. And it couldn't be further from the truth because I used to weigh 10 kilos less. That's like 20 pounds less than what I'm weighing now. And my circulation was so poor. I used to have a hot air fan underneath my desk at UBS when I was working for the bank. And sometimes I would even cover my legs with my jacket. I would wear ski underwear when I went to work. It's ridiculous. Yes, it's kind of shameful, but like I need to tell people.
No, it's great because it's part of the journey and it shows you can transform your life, you know?
Totally, totally. I mean, there were other things that were messed up in my body, like vitamin D deficiency, vitamin B.
Yeah, B's big for the circulation, isn't it?
Yeah. But whenever someone tells me, oh, it's great that you do this, it's amazing, I could never do that. I just introduced two people to the topic. They were just curious, but then they said, no, that's not for us. And then the husband started, and then the wife was thinking, well, maybe God sent me that person at this moment in time for a reason. Maybe I'll try it. And the next day I meet her and she's like, hey, I tried it. It felt so good. I showered so hot that I couldn't stand the heat anymore. So I had to shower cold and she liked it. And I guess now she's addicted.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you
That's
can
very
just
nice.
get people to, so, I learned things like about the lymphatic system, the dry skin brushing, right, to stimulate lymphatic system. And you start from farthest from the heart, so the bottom of the right foot, and you go in circles with the dry bristle body brush on the bottom of the foot, the sole of the foot, all up around the foot. So you do your right leg, left leg, underfoot, all the way up, your right hand all the way to the heart, left hand all the way to the heart, and then you do figure of eights around the chest, and you do the belly, do all this, and then you have your hot and cold shower. Now, I learned about this from Knipp, Sebastian Knipp. He was,
Yeah.
so he also used water therapy to cure himself. I think it was tuberculosis. And he started just, a lot of these people found these things because they were just seeking a cure. They were like sick of the disease or whatever was going on with them, and they were desperate. And they're like, let me just try this. So he cured himself TB, and it's called the Knipp method. I know he's big in Europe. And his story is really interesting because My Water Cure, I think, is one of his books. And basically, it's this method in the shower. And what I've realized with people is if they have a method, it keeps your mind occupied. It's kind of like when you go to the gym, if someone's telling you what to do and there's music, and they're like, you don't even need these little details, but they're telling you all these little details to keep your mind off the fact that you're doing something challenging. So with the lymph system, but the hard thing is you have to be there to show people, because I'll read something and be able to grasp it because I've had a lifetime of kind of wellness in my family and studying this stuff. You stomp your right foot, turn the shower on cold, right? So you've had your hot shower, you step back, you turn it on to cold, you stomp your right foot, then you got ideally you have a shower head you can take off, but I don't. See, you move my body under the faucet, but go up the outside of the right leg, the inside of the right leg, the outside of the left leg, the inside of the left leg. This is with the cold water in the shower. Outside of the right arm, inside of the right arm. Outside of the left arm, inside of the left arm. Across the chest and the lymph nodes and the armpits, back and forth, turn around, back of the neck, shoulders, down, all the way down the body. You feel so invigorated. The lymph is just pumping. After just those two things alone, I used to do that all the time. I never thought of sitting in the ice until I had this pool sitting here, came across this video somebody sent me, had all this body pain, and thought, what harm can it do to just try it? But when I first started doing it, some busybody in my building from upstairs complained to the super that I had a pool. And honestly, I gotta say, it's probably just someone who's jealous, right? Because it's all right, you've got this rooftop in New York City and you've got a pool. This is pretty awesome. So I don't know if they were just being a hater or whatever, what their reasons were, but they complained to the super. And he came to me and he said, look, Nicole, I'm just gonna let you know that someone upstairs. And I'm like, what is it to them? I'm thinking. And I said to him, what does it matter to them if I have a pool or not? Anyway, this is around fall. It was after summer. So I'm thinking maybe they just didn't like us having fun. And the ice started coming, and it was my first winter of having the axe. So I'm out there in my swimsuit, snow everywhere, ice on the pool with an axe, hacking at the ice to make my ice hole. Needless to say, I never heard a complaint from the neighbor again. I'm sure I came across as just the right amount of crazy to stop them complaining. I like to think that they thought, you know what, maybe we won't mess with this woman. Yeah, we'll leave her alone.
Cool story.
She's on her own. She's on her own thing.
Yeah. How do people connect with you?
You can find me on Instagram. My handle is the Ice Ice Baby. And then for my health coaching page, it's the real Nicole Marie is my Instagram handle there. ITSNICOLEMARIE. And that's at Gmail if someone wanted to email me. But I have another experience actually from this winter that I tried that I might share with you, if you don't mind.
Please.
So last story, this winter I tried something different. We don't have a jacuzzi, unfortunately. I love sitting in water. We have the sauna, but I decided to take a really hot bath with Epsom salts, and I needed a soak. I had sore muscles from working out. So I like a really hot bath, right? So I'm laying in there until I'm like, wow, it's like too hot. Like I've been in here too long. It's been like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm going to get in the pool. So I'm really hot, like hotter than I am from the sauna, because I'm basically just like red hot. And I'm actually too hot now. It's the middle of winter, but I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get in the ice. So I get in the ice and I'm in there, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes, and I get out and I have a similar feeling to what I was telling you about that 15-minute session in the ice. I'm floating again, and I'm not just tingling, I'm sparkling. I feel just like, I mean, and my husband's inside. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how this is insane. This is amazing. He's like, look at you. I'm like, I know. I'm just beaming. I'm like, this is sensational. So that's my other new favorite thing. If I have time, take a long, very hot bath. And obviously this is not for beginners. I'm 10 years deep into sitting in the ice and playing around with protocols, and I've sort of fine-tuned my method along the way. So it's not strictly anyone's method. I've picked up what's worked for me and discarded what hasn't worked for me. But
have you been able to reproduce the same result? Like do the same method? Super hot bath and then ice cold?
I've done that twice. Yeah, that works every time for me. Yeah, yeah. And
Gotta try that out.
yeah, it's pretty awesome because you know when you get out of a bath and you say like, whew, like you really soaked in that hot bath and you ran the hot tap again and you know you really amped it up until you're like, you know what, I'm just not that comfortable. I'm too hot. And you get out and you actually dry yourself off and you're actually like beading and a bit in sweat. You're like, well, I'm really like I need some relief now. I got like too hot. Yeah, that was remarkable.
Can you measure the temperature for me and your timing? That would be super interesting because I want to
in the bath
kind of see, in the hot bath. Because as you say, everyone has their own thing. And then depending on the condition that people have, like whether it's depression or cancer or whatever, I think we need to figure out what's the best protocol for each of these things, depending on age, depending on body size.
There's so many
gender,
factors,
so
right? Like there's no one size fits all. I feel like always proceed with caution. I tend to push things to the extreme because I am very in touch with my body. So I find if you can just like listen to your body, but don't be afraid. Like we know that cold water is good for us. We have to make a commitment. I always know I'm going to stand for 2 minutes because that's cold thermogenesis is achieved, right?
Yeah, and it's a letting go, right?
Letting
it's
go.
It's not the usual pushing that you do. It's more a passive, just being, accepting.
That's it.
Yeah, I love it.
Thanks so much for chatting, Simon. It's been really nice to connect. I've just found the ice dipping community online to be so friendly and nice and supportive, and everyone's just so chill. Right, Simon.
Hey, Nicole, thank
Lovely
you so
chatting
much.
with you.
I'll
Thank
be
you
in
so
touch.
much. Bye-bye.